The Geek Way, which is the title of my new book, is pretty straightforward. It's a better way to run a company. I studied what's been happening among these business geeks in Northern California who have been building companies in the 21st century that have been gaining huge amounts of value and disrupting industry after industry. And I tried to understand what they were doing that was different. What did they bring new to the business world? And the Geek Way is my answer. It's a better set of practices for running a company.
And we're seeing a lot of disruption today, but not all organizations are traditionally disruptive. So how can organizations that maybe not are the most disruptive come to that mindset?
As you say, there are a lot of industries that have been kind of sleepy for a long time, not a ton of disruption. I would call the worldwide space industry kind of a sleepy industry for a while. I would call the worldwide auto industry not subject to a lot of disruption in recent decades. I would also say Hollywood has been very stable and hasn't had a ton of disruption. In the 21st century, all those things have changed. The space industry is being almost single-handedly disrupted by SpaceX and a few other startups, geek companies in the space industry. The auto industry has been stood on its head in the 21st century by Tesla. Netflix is disrupting the global entertainment industry. These are all what I call geek companies. So I understand that disruption is an unpleasant phenomenon, but if the incumbent companies of today don't realize what the geeks are doing, when the geeks come to their neighborhood, a lot of disruption is going to happen.
And cooperation is another very trendy, almost outworn word. Why are we so bad at cooperation, and how should we go at it?
One of the weirdest things that I learned when I was researching the book, The Geek Way, is that a lot of these geek companies that are creating so much value and disrupting industry after industry, they don't like a ton of cooperation. At least they don't like it in the way that we got used to thinking about it in the 20th century, where we had a huge amount of communication and coordination and cross-functional processes. And that's actually a recipe for encroaching bureaucracy. It's a recipe for things taking longer over time. It's a recipe for sclerosis to set in. And one of the most radical things the geeks do is to try to reduce the amount of coordination, communication, cooperation, explicit going on. Now, of course, inside the teams that are building, you need a ton of collaboration and a ton of cooperation. But one of the things I find most fascinating is that the business geeks are trying very hard to create more modular organizations with less required cooperation. It turns out you actually don't need to convince human beings to cooperate. We're the most cooperative species on the planet. In fact, you have to stop them from doing it too much in ways that are harmful to the overall organization instead of helpful.
So a little bit more collaborative rather than corporate?
I would say modular. I would say intense cooperation and collaboration within a small team that's oriented toward building something, and then not a lot of necessary collaboration and coordination across all those modules.
Your book promises to give us some tools to seize the opportunities of tomorrow. Can you maybe reveal one of those tools for us?
One of the things any company can start doing tomorrow, even though it's difficult, is plan less and iterate more. And what I mean by that is set up an agile development process. And agile for me means you build something, you get it out there into the world, you get valid feedback about it, and then you do the next version of it as quickly as possible. We are way too fond of our planning, of all of our upfront work to make sure nothing can ever go wrong. What the geeks do instead is say, look, we're going to learn, we're going to fail, things are going to be not what we expected. And the only way to get smart about that is to get out there, try stuff, try it again as quickly as possible. So the geeks say, plan less and iterate more.
And last but not least, if you would give us a prediction of what's to come, let's say in the next 5 years, what would surprise us the most?
Let me give you two predictions about the next 5 years. The first one is that we are going to get more astonishing surprises from the technology toolkit. I was not expecting generative AI to become as powerful as it has been. That's a very recent development. Over the next 5 years, I don't know what exactly is going to happen, but the technology ecosystem is going to continue to surprise us and deliver science fiction innovations. The other prediction that I have over the next 5 years is that around the world, more sleepy industries are going to be disrupted by the geeks.